Good morning. It is my great pleasure this morning to introduce our chapel speaker, Zina Kumok, from the class of 2007. And before she gets a chance to say it, I'm going to say it for her. 10 years ago, she was sitting right there, just like you. I guarantee you that 10 years ago, she had no idea she would ever be back speaking to you guys about finance, not even on the radar. Back then, she was a typical St. Mary's senior. She was a little prickly when she was tired or grumpy and had too much homework. She had a really quirky, funny sense of humor, and she was always the first person in line to ride that emotional roller coaster that is the St. Mary's senior year. I mean, she loved it. Anyway, I have a lot of good memories of Zina's time here. She was part of a group, this is probably why I'm doing the introduction. She was part of the group called the Millen Stalkers. Which sounds pretty bad. They had a Facebook page, they had Millen Stalker t-shirts, and they went around taking pictures of me and Mrs. Milling and writing little funny blogs about them. This really sounds creepy. It really wasn't creepy, it was funny, it was cute, it was humorous, and since they were, after all, the class of 007, spying just came naturally to them. Well, James Bond humor, you guys are supposed to laugh at that. All right. Well, when she was at St. Mary's, Zina was a basketball freak. She loved the Los Angeles Lakers. She loved the Carolina Tar Heels. And when she wasn't accepted to the University of North Carolina, she spent at least a half hour sobbing in the music office about the lack of acceptance. It was Carolina's mistake. They messed up. Zina went on to Indiana University, basketball again, and majored in journalism. She combined her talent at writing with her love of hoops and spent some time doing sports writing. She worked for a local newspaper, and after college did some PR communications work for a nonprofit, and then became a full-time freelance writer. Now she writes about personal finance for millennials and for companies like Quicken Loans, Horton School of Business, and Forbes, and her work has been featured in Time, U.S. News, on the BBC, USA Today, and even in Lifehacker. So you guys are really lucky to have this opportunity, and I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Zina Kumok.
It was so nice of Doc not to mention the 2 I got on the AP Theory exam. It's probably the highlight of my time with him. I'm super excited to be here. When I was sitting in those seats, I used to wonder, how do those alumni speakers get up there, who chooses them? And then I realized that sometimes it's because they beg the administration to let them come back and speak. So thanks for Rainey for making that happen. So I'm excited because I'm going to talk about a topic that's really close to my heart, especially as a former turkey: quitting. Now, I know we St. Mary's girls are known for a lot of things, but quitting probably isn't one of them. We take on everything here: honors classes, extracurriculars, school plays, sports. Sometimes it's because we genuinely love those activities and want to make the most of it. Sometimes it's to pad our resumes for college. And sometimes it's because we think it's something we should do, or something that our parents or friends or loved ones expect us to do. And that's what I want to talk about today, is how to quit something that doesn't make you happy. I've quit a lot of things in my life. I quit Spanish. Sorry, Senora Walker, if you're still here. I quit a play. Rainey was actually in it. And I tried to quit guitar, but Doc wouldn't let me. He said it was too late. I showed him. There's a difference between quitting and being a quitter. Quitters are people who run away in fear when faced with adversity, when they feel uncomfortable or scared. They quit because they can't handle discomfort or hard work. But quitting is when there's a quiet voice inside of you that says, you're not meant to do this, and you follow it. And quitting can happen anytime. Quitters are cowards, they're afraid of doing something hard. But quitting is brave, because that can often be the hardest thing to do. So here's my story. When I was 16, I decided that I wanted to be a sports writer. And so I told Miss Mansberg, who immediately suggested that I join the Tatler and start following some local sports personalities in Memphis. And I took her up on both ideas. I started writing for the Tatler, where I became the first sports editor in its history, and I found 2 local mentors who took me to Grizzlies games and other events and showed me the ropes of sports writing. And as soon as I decided to go to college, I emailed the sports editor at the college newspaper and asked if I could have a beat there. In college, I covered men's basketball and went on the road with one of the most storied franchises in NCAA history. I met editors from ESPN, Sports Illustrated, and the New York Times. And I even interned at the Associated Press one summer in New York, where I helped cover the Yankees, NBA draft, and the World Cup. I've interviewed Alex Rodriguez, Mia Hamm, and Memphis legend Penny Hardaway. Despite all that success, as good as it sounds, I was miserable. I realized in college that while I was spending my Friday nights in some podunk town in Pennsylvania covering the Hoosiers, all my friends were having fun. And I realized that if I continued sports writing, that's what my weekends would look like. And I would, be in some random place in Minnesota being yelled at by a coach, writing a story, filing it, going to bed late, getting up early the next morning, and driving 12 hours back to Indiana. And during that time, I noticed a quiet voice inside me that said, "This is not where you're supposed to be." And notice I didn't say meant to be. I don't really believe in meant to be. That's for fairy tales and made-up worlds. Meant to be doesn't happen. You make yourself be somewhere. At that time, I was already a senior in college, and it was too late to change my major or even my focus in journalism. But I knew I was heading in the wrong direction when, after college, I got a job in journalism, and everyone else seemed more excited about it than me. Sometimes people would ask, "What's new with you?" And I would say, "I got a new job, please don't ask me about it." So after a year of working at a daily newspaper and paying my dues, I quit. I got a job at a nonprofit where I worked regular hours and worked for a mission I really believed in. But during that time, I also started a blog, writing about my attempts to pay off my student loans in 3 years. I had blogged for my newspaper about living frugally and often came up with excuses to blog more than cover the subjects I was actually supposed to be covering. I started chronicling my debt payoff journey, and even though no one was reading about it except my mom, thanks. That's how you know you're doing something you really want to do, when no one else is paying attention to it but you. So after a couple years of doing that on the side, I attended a conference for financial bloggers where I learned that tons of people were making a living doing it. They even gave me some freelance gigs, and that's how I really figured out that that was what I was most interested in writing about. So I kept at it, writing on the side and working at my day job 40 hours a week. I'd get home, work out, walk the dog, eat dinner really quick, and go back to writing. And after a year, I was making the same amount on the side as I was during my day job. So you can probably guess what happened next. I quit. Now I work at home, mostly in my PJs, but sometimes I dress up in yoga pants. I create content for financial clients and still write on my blog, where I've now created a course to help other people pay off their student loans quickly. And I got here through hard work, perseverance, but mostly I got here through quitting. Every time I've quit, I've gotten a little bit closer to where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing. And thankfully, you can quit anytime. I mean, I could stop talking right now and walk out of chapel. And I will not do that. I quit things when they don't align with my values. I've quit things because they don't leave room for the things that I really love. And now, remember, there's a difference between quitting and being a quitter. If you want to quit something, is there a voice inside telling you that no matter how good you are at softball, you'd rather do bowling? Plug for Doc. I don't know if you still do bowling. Okay, good. Is there a voice saying you'd rather focus on English than calculus? You have to nurture that voice. It's a really quiet voice, more like a Neville Longbottom than a Hermione Granger, depending how long you've been listening to it or how long you've been ignoring it. And what other people can say can really dampen that voice, and that's why you really have to be in charge of it. No one can erase it, and even though it's a very quiet voice inside you, it's a very powerful one if you just let it speak. So here's how you hear it. Sometimes there's a feeling in the pit of your stomach. Sometimes that's nausea. That's what I feel right now. But sometimes it's just that little voice that's saying, you know what, you're not really interested in this, that you're doing this for all the wrong reasons. And sometimes you don't have to quit anything to listen to that voice. You just have to follow your interests and curiosities and see where they lead you. And if you don't like where that road takes you, you can always quit and start again. So thank you.